ladies and gentlemen, for clicking on this Rank the Movies video. Last week, I went over the additions to my top 100 movies of all time. That was weird. And how that list has changed from when I wrote it a little over 2 years ago to today. Now, I'm going to ran all these movies through Rotten Tomatoes, and I'm going to see where my movies fall between good and bad on a tomato meter. I am using the critic score for this first portion. The second portion, I'm also going to talk about the audience score. So the first portion is just going to be what is the best and worst. So I looked at how many movies rank over 90% in my top 100 on Rotten Tomatoes. And this is off of the new list that I talked about last week. It surprised me as 18%, meaning 18 movies of my top 100 have a score of over 90%. Including Little Shop of Horrors, which barely makes the cut, at 90%, The Death of Stalin with a 95%, Ghostbusters with a 97%, 12 Angry Men with 100%, The Return of the Living Dead has a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, Glengarry Glen Ross at 95%, Back to the Future at 96%, Galaxy Quest at 90%, Knives Out at 97%, Rope at 94%, The Shawshank Redemption at 91%, Princess Bride at 97%, Die Hard at 94%, Shaun of the Dead at 92%, Baby Driver, 92%, Cabin in the Woods, 92%, Hot Fuzz, 91%, and Birdman, or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance, at 91%. So not a lot of them on the high end, like, you've got a couple of 97s in there. You got the 100, 12 Angry Men being 100. Then I think it's the 97s at Ghostbusters, Knives Out, and Princess Bride are the next highest. But that's kind of cool that 18 of my movies rank over 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, or 90% or higher. But what about the other side? What about the low end? What about a failing grade? If these movies were being graded on a scholastic scale, what's getting the F? And I decided I'm starting my F at 50% or less, although I'm pretty sure in an actual school system it's 60% or less. I just went 50% or less. If you couldn't break the 50% barrier, then you're there. And that came up with a much more understandable result. 24%. 24 movies in my top 100, critics say, have a Rotten Tomato score under 50%. And only one of them, oh no, I got a couple. I got a couple that are in the 40s. Let's take a look. What do we got here? Radioland Murders at 24%. Oh yeah, I'm reading the order of these movies is how they appear on the top 100. Road to Wellville at 39%. Down Periscope at 11%. Transylvania 65000 at 18%. Smokin' Aces 31%. Eulogy 34%. Basic 21%. Evolution 44%. Rat Race 44%. Four Rooms 13%. Airheads 25%. The Gambler 44%. Dracula Dead and Loving It 11%. Repo the Genetic Opera 40%. The Loft 14%. Butter 34%. Play It to the Bone 11%. Waiting at 30%. Employee of the Month 20%. 3,000 Miles to Graceland just got added in, and it has a tomato score by critics of 14%. Kids in the Hall Brain Candy 42%. Space Jam 44%. The Iced Harvest 47%. And House on Haunted Hill 1999 31%. So it's not bad. I don't have anything in single digits, so at least, that's kind of reassuring. I think 11 is the worst I get, and that's 3 movies. But we'll get into that in a second, because that's what I really want to talk about this week. I kind of wanted to go over those numbers, just for fun, just for fun's sake, talking about these tomato scores and how they relate to the movies I think are great. Because these are movies, if I was giving them a percentage score, they'd all be in like 75% or higher. So it's kind of weird that the critics marked them as less than 25%. But now let's take a look at these movies, compare them to their fan score. But I'm not going to compare all 24 of them to their fan score. I'm just going to compare the 10 worst. So this is the 10 worst. The particular order is actually going to be how they fall on the top 100. So I'm going to start with the lowest scored movie, and I'm going to work my way up. These scores are the 11s all the way up to a 24. Because that's what makes up 10. This is rank the movies. So let's talk about this. So number 92 on the top 100, 3,000 Miles to Graceland. We mentioned it at a 14% on Rotten Tomatoes by the critics. Fans, however, slightly more favorable with a 46%. Still wouldn't have gotten off of the lower than 50% list, but at least that's a higher number. It's a much higher number. Fans like it kinda more than I like it a lot, but like it kinda more. Employee of the Month got a 20% by the critics, 53% by the fans. So that's a decent jump. That would have gotten it out of this basement had I went with fan scores. Play It to the Bone. Okay, Play It to the Bone's, according to critics and fans, is the worst out of the top 100 movies. 11% is what the critics gave it. The fans gave it 25%. So yeah, it's a little better. It's a little the fans. Luckily, all the fan scores are higher than the critic scores. But yeah, that one kind of hurts. That's not that big of a jump. The Loft has a 14% critic score, 37% fan score. So again, not bad. Still not pulling it out of the dungeon. A lot of these don't get pulled out of lower than 50. Dracula Dead and Loving It, 11%, jumps to 49 with fans. I would like to have seen that one higher. Four Rooms has one of the highest jumps. Going from 13% critic score to 69% fan score. So that thing just jumps straight up and actually lands pretty high. Like, as far as fan scoring goes, that's not bad. 69%, not bad. Basic also takes a huge jump, as at 21% is what the critics gave it. Fans gave it a 63. It's Four Rooms is the highest out of all of these. That one's pretty good. For the three of them that land in the 60s, that's not bad. Transylvania 65000 got an 18%. Jumps to 41 with the fans. So, go fans. Yeah. This video might not have been my best idea, but I'm going to stick with it. Down Periscope was 11% by the critics, jumps to 62% by the fans. So that's another real good jump. That's a decent jump. Again, none of these are like hated by critics, super loved by fans. I think that would denote an 80% or higher. And then Radioland Murders goes from 24% up to 59%. So those are the 10 lowest scored movies in my top 100 critic score versus fan score. So why talk about this? Why talk about these tomato scores? Because a lot of people do, like, you look at a movie nowadays, and some of them, to try to get you to rent it or buy it, say certified fresh. Because it wants you to think that these scores mean something. Reality, they don't. These scores mean nothing. These scores mean absolutely nothing to anything. Because here's the thing. Yeah, the 18%, the 18 movies I listed that are over 90, I would agree with because I like those movies. Me personally, everything that's in a lower score, and even the audience scores on most of these, the averaged fan scores, I think are really low for these movies. These are some great movies that I think just get overlooked, that I think just have been overlooked. And that's really sad. I just wanted to say that it doesn't matter. Like, don't look at the critic scores. Don't look at Rotten Tomatoes. Don't look at an IMDb star rating. Like, you can look at it to be amused at a bad movie having a great rating. That's fine. Be amused. But don't, like, go, man, do I want to watch this movie? Oh, it's only got 11% on Rotten Tomatoes. Who cares? Who cares what the critics say? Who cares what other fans say? If it looks interesting to you, check it out. The worst thing that happens is you waste time watching a bad movie. I do it all the time. You heard me talk about it just a couple of weeks ago. Bonnie and Clyde, not a bad movie, not a great movie. Top Gun, not a bad movie, not a great movie. Though Top Gun kind of did piss me off. And those probably had very high Rotten Tomato scores. I didn't look them up, and I don't have my phone with me. But they probably had very high Rotten Tomato scores from the critics. So don't rely on these scores. Don't rely just on what other people tell you about a movie. I know that's what I do. I tell you about the movies, but I just try to give you information to hopefully get you to either watch a movie, avoid a movie, or get so interested in a movie that I don't care for that maybe you'll actually watch it and maybe you'll love it. That's what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm trying to do with these videos, with this website, or with this YouTube channel, and just try to express my opinion. And hopefully let my opinion influence your opinions, not to the point where you listen to me and go, oh, that's a bad movie. That's a great movie. But so you can make your own. Watch movies. Make your opinions on them. If something doesn't look good, don't watch it. If something looks good, don't care about what the critics say or what other fans say. Just watch it. Because it looks good. That's how the entire horror genre works. You know, none of those movies really look good. They either look interesting, so you watch them, or they don't. And that can go for not just horror. That goes for most genres. Just watch what interests you. Never let somebody else's statements influence what you like, especially if it's something you actually like, and then you watch one of these videos, because there are dozens of us YouTube streamers out here who are talking movies. And just because you like a movie and then your favorite YouTuber doesn't like the movie, screw it. They have their opinion. That's fine. You don't need to accept it just because they don't agree with you. Just because they have a platform to speak on doesn't mean they're right. Just accept it. Accept that, you know, this person doesn't like this. Whatever. I like it. And just move on. So I hope you enjoyed me talking about critic scores of my top 100 on Rotten Tomatoes. Next week, I'm going to get off a soapbox and talk about something I think is entertaining. I'm going to talk about the Marvel Cinematic Universe end credit scenes. And we're going to talk about how, do they actually pay off? Like, do any of these that set things up actually deliver what they set up? Do they actually set things up? Are most of them just plugs to get you to watch the next movie, meaning they don't have to set anything up? What are these cutscenes, and why do we feel this strong necessity to sit through these 15-minute credits to watch this 30-second scene that might not go anywhere? So we're going to talk about that next week. I'm Martin Prevost. This has been Rank Them. Like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss anything. I hope you're enjoying your time. I hope you're enjoying life. And I will talk to you later.